Welcome to the Movie Watch Free Dive podcast, where two mice fell into a bucket of cream and we both drowned, and we are trapped in this podcast. Today, we are talking about a movie that our guest, Jordan, from the Fandom Optimists, from our podcasting network, The Hall of Pods, has suggested.
Gab.
And Gab's here too.
Gab.
You know Gab.
I mean, the first thing I say is my name, so.
And I'm Brian.
Gab, I was trying to introduce our guest. It's not all about you.
It is all about me, actually. But anyway, secondarily, it is somewhat about Jordan. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been trying to figure out which movie for sure I wanted to do for a guest appearance for a very long time, and I finally managed to think of one for Dylan to have me on here. So.
And we'll see if we like it or if we pick it apart. But it might be hard to do so because the movie we're talking about is, directed by Steven Spielberg. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio. You've already seen the title of the episode, I presume. It's the 2002 movie Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan, you are going to get put on the spot here. Okay. And I'm going for a streak as long as possible of keeping Gab silent, which I'm doing pretty well so far talking over her. Jordan, can you tell me what is this podcast about?
Okay, so this podcast is
what?
Jordan, I was distracted.
You know what, Dylan, you're fired. You're fired. Jordan,
I was gonna do it, man.
Gab was making hand signals. She was distracting me.
I was counting how long I had been silent. Dylan, you're fired. Jordan, tell us what the goddamn movie is about. Now that we're 70 some odd episodes in, and Dylan is still in the dark about what the fuck it is we're doing here. Tell him about the movie, Jordan.
I think this is 71.
Is it? Man, y'all caught up to my show very fast. I think yours was running much chronologically less than mine, but I keep taking 2-month breaks because of a vocal disorder. So I have fallen very far behind on.
Wait, expand upon that. The vocal disorder.
Vocal disorder. I have a vocal disorder called muscle tension dysphonia. I developed it as a sort of after effect of COVID about a year and a half ago, and it's basically. It's just every time I try to produce sound, there's a muscle that's right above the larynx. This kind of deals with the motion of the larynx that tightens up in a way that's just not supposed to do. And then it makes producing sound somewhat difficult. Took a bunch of speech therapy for it. And I got to where I could speak kind of normally again and get back into my podcasting more or less consistently. There's still some hit and miss. Like last weekend, I didn't feel up to one. And so that's what's up with me. And
that is, first of all, I am so sorry. I don't think I could go on if I wasn't able to talk constantly. So
it wrecked me for a while because I was the head of an a cappella group in college and stuff. So always my voice has always been very important to me. I'm a singer. I had a radio show in college. Then I had a podcast on Spotify. And so I'm it was tough for a while. But here I am. And I think I sound relatively okay.
You do.
It's a moderately good feeling day.
Well, you are crushing it. And that just really touched my heart. And that this is maybe the second time on this podcast over the garden wall that my heart has been touched. So
good.
Fuck yeah, keep going. But nevertheless, what the fuck is this movie about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
So this movie, Dylan fucking Pollock, is about the mostly real world story of Frank William Abagnale Jr., considered to be one of the youngest and most daring con men in American history, and his little game of cat and mouse across the United States and later the world with the FBI, specifically Agent Carl Hanratty. And hijinks ensue, and John Williams' music follows. And I love the way that they set it up right at the beginning with just the little speech that they give you on to tell the truth at the beginning, sets it all up, where he's I checked I forged like $4 million in checks, and I did it all before my 19th birthday. And I'm like, that's all you need to know. And
Yeah.
that's a great intro to the movie.
Which that description from To Tell the Truth is taken almost verbatim from the actual episode of To Tell the Truth he appeared on.
Mm-hmm.
Which
That's true.
Wait.
I did watch for this.
Oh, cool. I've never
Really?
actually seen the original clip.
It's on YouTube. I'm going to put it in the description below.
Please do.
Do
It
they
is
just let
interesting.
criminals go on game shows? Is that like
Well, if they're not in
normal?
prison anymore, sure.
Yeah, by that point, he wasn't.
Gypsy Rose just got out of prison. What game show do you think she's going to be on? 3, 2, 1. Family Feud.
She already won Family Feud. I was going to say that too, but I was
Yes,
like,
Dylan. Yes, that was so fucking good. That felt like a layup, and you fucking dunked. Do you dunk a layup? I don't know. George.
No, they're literally two different basketball shots, but I appreciate the effort.
Thank you. You know what I meant.
I'm glad Dylan knew the answer because I don't know anything about sports.
Yeah, I don't know.
Easy 3-pointer touchdown for Dylan.
That was so good too. That's Noho Hank.
My entire
It is.
podcast is about nerd franchises. I don't know anything about sports.
That's fair. That's fair. We stay in our lanes. Dill, what does IMDb say about this movie?
Oh yeah, we do that. Okay, so the IMDb plot summary of Catch Me If You Can. Barely 21 yet, Frank is a skilled forger who has passed as a doctor, lawyer, and pilot. FBI agent Carl becomes obsessed with tracking down the con man who only revels in the pursuit.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is sort of accurate and also sort of not. I feel like it makes him a little bit older because the movie starts when he's like 13 years old, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think he's
Because
I think
it's
he's
still
like
just Leonardo
shortly
DiCaprio.
before his 16th birthday is the opening sequence.
I think what made me say that was in To Tell the Truth, it says that he is supposed to. Oh, maybe I've gotten it wrong. Because I think To Tell the Truth, it says when I was 19 years old, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, yeah.
And then
see,
it goes 6 years earlier. But
I paid like extra super close attention. Is that they say that he did all of the forging and the $4 million before his 19th birthday, but there's like an extra 2 years that he spent in a French prison that
Yes.
you have to like pay close attention to the years to notice that there's a
Okay,
big chunk
so
they don't account for.
That makes
he would have been
sense.
like 15 at the start, which, okay, fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Taglines?
We do have some taglines.
You,
which
you
the
see
first
how I'm
one-
keeping this on the road?
Thank goodness for you, Gab. You're the conductor on this train.
Yes, I am.
I actually really like this tagline. The true story of a real fake.
Oh,
I
that's
like that too.
perfect.
It is rare
That's
that
great.
Gab likes a tagline, so it must be good.
Yeah, true.
And then we have two very mediocre ones. Frank didn't go to flight school. Frank didn't go to medical school. Frank didn't go to law school because Frank's still in high school.
That's not as good.
It's a bit too many.
It's too
also, like-
long and it's inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because he's no longer in high school by the time he's doing all this stuff. He's not like that makes it feel like it's going to be a Spider-Man style story.
Or like
of a
Ferris
dude-
Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, of like a dude
Yeah.
trying to keep up this double life while attending high school. It's like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because him being in high school doesn't matter at all because he just quits it.
Yes.
And the last one is clearly remember what time this movie comes out because it just says catch them this Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got nothing for you on that one.
Yeah. All right.
Gab, you watched this movie. Did you want to expand on what it's about?
Yeah, I'll
Hmm.
expand a little bit. So I'm going to keep this relatively brief because there are so many details that we could get into, and we will in opinion time. But essentially, you have the story of a young man who is from a seemingly normal, very healthy family. The father is obviously a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for, Dill?
I was gonna
He's
go
not-
con man, but I'm not sure what line you were going for.
See, I was thinking con man, but I want something like a little bit softer because
Okay, interesting.
I mean, Frank is a con man, you know.
He's a
Yeah.
con
junior.
gentleman.
Yeah, sure. He's a con gentleman. There we go. He's just like he knows
It's like a
how to get what
street
he
con
wants.
artist.
Yeah, he like manipulates things to get what he wants, but it doesn't seem like it's too bad. You know, he's
Yeah.
getting the woman who owns the store to open a little bit early by flashing a gold necklace to her so that she lets them in so that Leonardo DiCaprio, his son, can rent a suit so that he can pretend to be a driver so that Frank looks like he has more money than he does. So it's just very like small things that sort of add up. And over time, we find out that his father is in big trouble with the IRS and, you know, loses his store. And in doing so, loses his wife, who cheats on him with his best friend or coworker or something like that. And that kind of sets us up for our story. Frank Jr., his parents are getting divorced, and he has to choose which parent he wants to live with. So instead of choosing, he runs away. And as he runs away, he figures out that he can start taking fake checks and cashing them. And from there, he learns that he can be disguised as a pilot and ends up flying planes and collecting money from Pan Am and flying for free across the country so he can cash checks at different places throughout the country. He ends up disguised as a doctor and falls in love, which we'll talk about, potentially falls in love with a young nurse, and then moves with her to where her family is from to marry her, and ends up working as a lawyer for her father and somehow passes the bar. And from there, he leaves again as the FBI tries to find him. And he just sort of manipulates his way around the country, posing in different careers and conning people into giving him money until he is inevitably caught.
I think that's fairly accurate. I think the only thing that you leave out of your lengthier description is Carl at all. And while Carl is not the lead of this movie, I do think he's important because, well, I shouldn't say any opinions, but let's just say that Carl is chasing him the entire time. Carl is dead set on catching this man, but Carl is also sort of ruining his own career with his fixation on Frank, because to an extent, you know, I know he gets told at one point, don't get embarrassed by this because you could be sector chief one day, but Carl is dead set on catching this. What do they call him in the FBI? Paper hanger?
Yeah.
Yes.
Carl has a thick Boston accent. That must
Yeah, he
be
does.
noted.
Yeah.
That's why he's not Carl Hanratty. He's Kyle Hanratty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. That was it. That was the only thing that I was like, Gab, it must be stated that Tom Hanks is in this movie.
Well,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
So that I think is really all we need to get into. Why don't we go into a more formal opinion time?
In this critic's opinion,
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
Well, wait. I have something very briefly that I want to bring up. There's no good segment to bring it up, but
Okay.
I actually reached out to Frank Abagnale has a website.
No.
So I contacted the website to ask Frank
No.
Abagnale, hey, can you tell me anything that maybe was left out of the movie or maybe anything that you would like to include? And I did get a response from someone who works for Abagnale and Associates. It was not the response I was hoping for, but it was.
Oh no.
They were very much, dear Mr. Pollock, thank you for your email. It has been Mr. Abagnale's long-standing policy that he doesn't grant interviews, especially about his early life and the movie. We turn down national television, major radio stations, and podcasts every week. Please understand that he is 75 years old and does not have any desire to discuss what he did as a teenager. He's exhausted from talking about things that happened 50 years ago. He truly feels what he did was immoral, illegal, and unethical. But he paid his debt in prison, followed by 5 years of parole, and is released from prison in February of 1974, almost 50 years ago. He thanks you for your interest and understanding. Abagnale and Associates.
You know what? I
I mean,
have two
fair
things to
enough,
say.
man.
Number one, that is so fair. I totally understand. I don't even like talking about shit that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But number two, he has to, and I believe this firmly in my heart, he has to have at least a grain of satisfaction and pride in what he did. Think about how fucking famous it made him. Think about what a great career he had after. Think about all the accomplishments that he had afterward. Like, he's brilliant.
He's much more
cunning.
accomplished since.
Yes, but he's got to be proud of that.
It's totally
He's
fair,
gotta
but
be.
I will tell you, I did go on a roller coaster of emotions from to aw.
That's fair. Clearly, so did I.
So now we can get into our opinion time proper.
Jordan, why don't you start, since you selected this movie, and tell me and the listeners some of your opinions. Like, what does this movie mean to you? Why did you choose this movie? What do you love about it, etc.?
So one thing that I really like about it, that's kind of an odd thing, is that I've always regarded it as kind of a secret Christmas movie. Because, and I guess Dylan was mentioning in the taglines that this may have come out around Christmas. I did not know what time of year this came out. But after watching the movie several times as a kid, I like eventually realized it's like a third of the scenes are set on Christmas Eve across like 6 different years.
Yeah.
And particularly all the most pivotal character revealing scenes are set on Christmas Eve.
It's actually really funny because I obviously, in real time, it's not too far off from Christmas. And when I watched it, my boyfriend kept saying, "Is this a Christmas movie? Like, this is a Christmas movie." And obviously he was joking, but it like low-key, I mean, if we're going to call things like Harry Potter or Die Hard Christmas movies, like this is kind of a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I've always called it the sleeper Christmas hit. Because
I would agree with that.
Because it's hard to even notice that it's set. Because it's like the first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, that scene's on Christmas Eve." But then, like the second time I watched it, it's like a bunch of these scenes are Christmas Eve. That's interesting.
Yeah,
It took me a while to pick up on it.
I think one of the most culminating scenes of the movie is when he finally, at the end, visits his mother's house and sees that his mother has had another child, and it is Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and it's a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
It's a sad Christmas movie,
Yeah.
a bit, but it's
Now,
but I
what's
think it's a Christmas
sadder?
movie.
This Christmas movie or Jack Frost, your husband is dead, but don't worry, he's the snowman?
Oh,
What's sadder?
that feels sadder. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
that's-
I'd rather have a son that is in prison for, major white collar crimes than a husband who's a snowman.
Yeah. So just to get back to the original question, why I picked this, is partly that it was something that my parents showed me when I was, I mean, not like little, but I was a kid, and we watched it like not quite annually, but like pretty often, just because it was a cool movie and I enjoyed watching it. I've always gravitated toward anything by Spielberg and anything with John Williams, which is much the same category.
Yeah.
But I always kind of gravitated towards those, and I just always thought this was a particularly cool one. And so I'd watched it more and more and more, and it just got more and more solidified as one of my favorite movies ever. It might be my favorite movie that's outside of like a big franchise. Like if I take out your Indiana Joneses and your Star Warses and your Marvels and whatever, I think Catch Me If You Can might be my favorite movie in that standalone category.
I love that.
That's why that was definitely why I picked it for an appearance here. It was because I was like, I was like, I don't really want to make you all watch the third Indiana Jones for
Thank you so
this, because
much.
I'm like, that's a good one, but I feel like I remember you not liking the first Indiana Jones.
You remember correct.
And so I was like, I don't really want to make Gab watch the third Indiana Jones. I was like,
I
I don't really know if
appreciate
I
that.
want to bring a superhero movie for an introduction to what I think is a movie to watch before you die, although there are some. But I was like, this seems like a really good choice for this. So that's the reasoning for why I'm here with this.
Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit of like some of your favorite scenes, but I'd also like to know if you have any hot takes.
Ooh, hot takes. I feel like, oh man, I'm trying to think of a good hot take for this movie because it's not a very popular movie. So I'm not aware of what most people's takes are on this movie, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone on the internet talk about it.
Here's a question
Really?
I have for the two of you then.
Okay.
Put yourself in the position of Brenda, Amy Adams' character who he falls in love with.
Yeah.
On the day of your engagement party, your fiance pulls down 2
Oh, dear
suitcases of
God.
money and says, "We're going on the run."
Oh,
I'm not actually who I say I am. Are you going?
She gets the saddest fucking part of this movie to me. I'm like, she's just got, it's just terrible. Like from her backstory before she meets Frank and everything that
Yeah.
she's telling him about her past and being kicked out by her parents and stuff. And then that they only want her back because she's engaged to a doctor lawyer person. and then he's not, and that's not his name, and
That's
she's
Mr.
so in love
Dr.
with
Lawyer
him.
person to you.
Mr. Dr. Lawyer person to you. And that's not even his name. And then she's so in love with him that she's still gonna go to the thing. And then she doesn't wind up with him because I guess we don't know if she was just so in love with him that she went, or if she went because the FBI told her to go. I think
was
she would
working
have
for
gone
the
anyway.
FBI.
It seems like she had no choice by that point. Yeah.
Yeah, but I what I was wondering is if she would have gone anyway. Like if the FBI wasn't a factor and it was up to her whether or not she went, I wonder if she'd have gone.
But I'm saying,
To
say
that
Frank
airport.
finds out an hour before the FBI's on the way. You have time to escape.
Mhm.
He's pulling down two suitcases of money, and he says, "My name's not Frank Taylor, Frank Connors. It's Frank Abagnale. I am a career criminal, but I have enough money to last us for the rest of our lives."
That's really tough. It's really tough. I feel like the moral answer is no, but it's hard to predict how you're going to act when you're in love with the person. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know. It's a terrible situation to be put in.
Follow-up question, Gab?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Leo in this situation, or is it somebody else?
It's Corey. It's Corey for you.
Oh, God damn
Jordan,
it.
it's your girlfriend, right? Not your fiance?
Okay.
Not
Funny
to put you on the
say
spot.
that.
Yeah.
Funny you should say that. She is now my fiance as of like 4 days ago.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Mazel tov.
Wow. That's so exciting. Look at this.
Thank you.
Jordan warming my
I
heart.
could feel it.
That's so nice. Corey, if you're listening, you hear that? Is that nice? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Dylan got a premonition that the word fiance might be needed.
Wow.
Okay, so
yeah,
your fiance comes in with two suitcases of money. We have to run. We can never return here.
Mm-hmm.
You going? I'm telling you, that
really tough. I feel like maybe.
Let me give you
because
it's. If Giselle pulls down two suitcases of money and says we don't need to worry about money for the rest of our lives, I was already gone. I was pulling her out the door.
I'd agree with that.
I'll leave a voicemail for work. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I think I think the hard thing for me is that and this is something that I wanted to bring up, so maybe this is a good time to bring it up. Does Frank actually love Brenda? Or is she just a convenient way for him to continue his scheme? Because to me, I don't really think he loves her. And so I
think he does, because
interesting.
I don't think it would be so much more difficult to keep living this con with two people. Especially someone who's maybe not as a flawlessly adept liar as he is.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, I feel like you don't risk even telling her to come with you if you're not like completely in love with her. And he's got this like intense like just his whole spirit drops when he realizes he can't go to her because the FBI's here. And so I'm like, I feel like there's love at play here.
Yeah,
I don't know if
fair.
it's particularly strong because I don't know. It's tough because I can't like say that, oh, well, then he should have turned himself in when he realized that his love is working with the FBI or anything like that. But yeah, I feel like the act of even telling her to go to the airport says something more than just than just that she's convenient or anything like that.
That's
You
fair,
think he
and I hadn't
does
thought
not?
about that.
Is that what you're saying, Gab? That you don't think he loves her?
I did not, no, because to me, when you think about their meeting and like her braces and her obviously kind of being like a moron, you're like, all right, she's just like an easy target for him. But then you see the scene where she's telling him about her past and he's holding her, and you're like, all right, maybe there's some kind of like relationship forming here. But I always wondered sort of like which came first, right? If you meet somebody and you think, oh, this is an easy target, can you ever really love them? Or do you learn to love somebody when you get to know them? It's an age-old question. But I think to me, and so to answer your original question, Dylan, the thing that I think is if Corey says to me, I have enough money to last us a lifetime, we got to get out of here. This isn't my name, but I am the same person. I'm thinking, okay, I don't give a shit what your name is. Well, that's fine as long as you're you. But because of the nature of their relationship and how it started, I'm like, does she know him at all? Because does he even
Yeah.
love her? Like,
Which is a very
is
good
it
point.
worth it? Because,
Yeah,
they don't,
it's interesting.
she doesn't really know him. He doesn't know him, right? Like, who is Frank Abagnale Jr.? We don't really know.
I'll also say,
Hmm.
Brenda, I don't think the answer is really either. I think he loves the idea of her, and she's a representation of
Interesting.
what he wanted to have in his parents. The idea of, well, I can now create my own stability. I can create
Yeah.
a loving family.
And
That's
that's
why
kind of mirrored with him watching her parents doing the dishes, and they're listening to the same song
Yep.
that his parents
Exactly.
were listening to at the beginning, dancing.
Yep.
you have that, and you have the moment where Giselle was saying that she thinks that he hated every minute of being with Brenda and that she ruined everything for him. But it's that moment where he's watching them. They're watching this TV show,
Mhm.
where they're all singing K-E-L-L-Y, whatever.
Yeah.
And you see him look around at them all enjoying what is clearly this somewhat traditional thing for them, and he just decides to join in. And I think the idea is meant to be that he wants to stay, and he wants that to plant himself there because he's ready to stop running. And once the FBI comes calling, it's like, well, no more choice, back to it,
Yeah.
I do like, that's why Carl is like, his name, he's in love with a broad. She's got to keep the same name if he wants the gal. That was not
Yeah.
Boston. I don't know what that was.
I do love, I'm glad you brought up that phone call, because I love that although he makes a fool of Interrante several times throughout the movie, we do see that he's genuinely a pretty sharp detective at times, where he's like figuring out that it's like, well, he can't have changed the name, that it's like that's a surprise to the other two agents. They're like, yeah, he can't change the name. Changes the name, he loses the girl because she knows him as this. And my favorite example of that is him figuring out the comic books thing and the New York thing, where he's like, it's like there's no record because we're looking for a runaway juvenile. It's like running for a runaway juvenile in New York. And they're saying, well, how do you know New York? He's like, because he was talking about the Yankees. And I'm like, I like that he's putting together stuff. And he's like, he's pretty far behind, but he's smarter than everyone else that's looking for him.
Although he does have the one very stupid moment where Frank is like, I'm at the Stuyvesant Arms, I'm in this room, you can come get me. And he's like, you
Yeah.
want me to do that, don't you?
He
You
calls
think I'm a
calls that wrong.
moron. Yeah.
He calls that wrong. That's a great scene.
Oh, Gab, have you ever been to, obviously you've been to JFK, the airport, right?
Yes.
Maybe not. Maybe you only gone to LaGuardia or Newark. I don't know.
I've
Have you
actually
ever-
never been to Newark.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
Yeah.
That's not me speaking on the city, although you're probably not missing much. But
Jordan, where are you from?
Texas.
Is that where you are right now?
Yes. So very
part?
far from all of the things you just referenced. I live in the DFW area. I live in northern Fort Worth.
Cool. That means nothing to me, but I'm glad to hear it. Anyway, continue, Dylan.
Did you notice that there are several scenes in airports that are filmed at the TWA terminal at JFK?
Yes, I did. Did you notice that the first time they go to the bank, it's Grand Central Station?
I did not notice that. You have one up my noticing.
Now that I
Ha-ha.
think about it, yeah, from what I know about the way that Grand Central Station looks, yeah, that's probably correct.
It's definitely Grand Central, no question.
Cool.
We'll
So
also
yeah,
talk briefly about
let
how
me Google
good
that actually.
Christopher Walken is in this movie.
Oh, he's great.
Like, as fun as it is for everyone to do an impression of Christopher Walken, he really is a fantastic actor as much as he is a caricature for us all to make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you staring at?
I'm looking up the locations of Catch Me If You Can. I'm trying to find the bank.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. I
So-
will tell you, I had a mix up in my brain of, I thought the person he deals with at the bank was Joel McHale, and then I realized, no, that's Spider-Man 2, where Joel McHale's a banker for no reason.
Ah, yes.
My brain melted those
Stupid.
two together, and when Doc Ock did not try and stop Frank, I was very disappointed.
Instead, it's Elizabeth Banks who has a great little 2-minute role there.
Yeah, you have a lot of people who would go on to be very famous in like
Yeah,
small roles.
I can't find it, but just take my word for it.
Okay.
Now, I have a hot take.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, I am a huge fan of Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks is the greatest actor, maybe of all time. I don't think his performance can even hold a candle to Leo in this movie. I think it is
Interesting.
It is not. Normally, he is the light years beyond anybody else in any other movie.
Hmm.
I don't feel that way about this performance. I think it is good. I don't think it is like a mind-blowing performance. I think Leo blows him away.
Yeah, Miranda and I were watching this and kept commenting that it's borderline criminal that it took him so long to win an Oscar. I'm like, he could have for this one because this is incredible.
Yeah.
I do wonder who wins that year because I'm not even sure if he was nominated. But
Shut up. Look
I
it up.
don't.
Google it.
I'm doing it. I don't think that Tom Hanks is like terrible in this movie. I just think, and we've said this before about other roles. I think he has significantly less to do in this movie than Leo does. I think he has less to do in this movie than Christopher Walken does, because I think to go back into my representation spiel, that Tom Hanks is meant to be, by the end of this movie, a representation of stability, and he represents the father figure that Leo wished he had on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going from bad daddy to good daddy by the end.
Yeah. That's
Which,
true.
oh my God. Like, if you want to talk about sad, which, yes, Brenda has a very sad backstory.
Mhm.
But watching fucking Frank go from finding out his father is dead from a freak fall at a train station to then finding out not only is his mom remarried, which he knew, but he has been replaced by this, little girl.
Just devastates me. That gets me to cry every time I watch this movie.
You see that little girl in the window and you're like, oh, you bitch. Like, it's not her fault. She didn't do anything wrong, but you're like, how could you exist? How could you do that? And then when he's going, "I'll be the car, Carl," you're like, oh.
Yeah. And the little wave he gives to the girl as he's backing away with his hands up is just like devastating to me.
It really is.
Yeah, terribly sad. Oh, is this okay? I think then that I might know why he was not the winner for this then.
Who?
I just want to double check and make sure that it's the right one, because I typed in 75th Academy Awards for 2003 because it's always the year it comes after, blah, 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 blah. I might be wrong. This might be the wrong year, because I was like, oh, that is Adrian Brody for The Pianist, which would make obvious sense because he's really, really good in that. Either of you ever see that movie?
Nope.
Oh, no, it is that year. Yeah.
Was he nominated?
Checking.
I need to know that he got some form of recognition for this.
He was not nominated.
It was awesome. That's so upsetting to me.
Nominated that year was Adrian Brody, obviously, for The Pianist, Nicolas Cage for Adaptation, Michael Caine with a quiet American, Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, and Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt.
Yeah, sure.
Which, like, those are all some heavy hitters of actors, but he's really good in this movie. Yeah.
I just think we gave him the Oscar for the Bear movie as like an apology.
It was a makeup.
And
yeah,
he didn't need it for that.
Yes. He needed it for everything else he's done.
Yeah, it's like, what did Denzel Washington win for? Wasn't it Training Day? And it was like, that was clearly a makeup for him not winning it for Glory, or maybe I'm mixing that up.
Jordan, what is your thoughts on the Leonardo DiCaprio Kate Winslet relationship?
Oh my God,
Kate Winslet. Is that? Were they dating at the time or?
No, never mind.
Kate Winslet is his co-star from Titanic.
Yes, I was like, did they date?
No, they didn't.
Gab just believes
Jordan,
that they
the
should
problem.
be together.
They love each other so much. They love it. Like, she will win an award and be like, "My Leo, this is for you." And he's like blowing her kisses. They love each other so fucking much. I literally don't understand. Like,
Can't
give
they just
it up.
be friends?
No.
Do you think maybe you're projecting what you want?
There's a ship at play here, Dylan.
No.
I saw a meme about
Leonardo
DiCaprio. It was like Leonardo DiCaprio dating 19-year-old supermodel, and I'm trying to think of what exactly it said from this joke that I'm stealing, where he said, Leonardo DiCaprio is like my employer. paying minimum wage. You know he'd go lower if it weren't for the law.
That's good. That's good. And it's true. Leonardo DiCaprio, currently fat?
I don't know, Gab. That seems to be your obsession, not mine.
No. I'm just curious.
I've
Listen,
not seen him recently. I don't know.
part of his job, just like an athlete, right? In season, you got to be in shape. Off season, you don't have to be in shape.
Yeah.
So I'm just always curious, is this person currently in season? Or in his case, did he just do a movie where he was, maybe playing a heftier gentleman? Like, I'm just curious.
I mean, his most recent was Killers of the Flower Moon.
Right? Haven't seen it yet. Did you see?
I have not, but he was not fat in it.
Okay. Thank you. Jordan, did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I'll get around to it
Probably
eventually.
watch it at home at some point because it's 3+ hours.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I think about this movie. It's very, very, thank you. Yeah, not fat. I see.
Okay.
You know what though?
Here's my hot take.
Oh,
Yay.
please.
This movie could be like 20 minutes shorter, probably.
Yeah, okay. There's a
Interesting.
few parts
What
where
would you cut?
there might be some.
What fat would you trim?
Maybe cut out him seeing his father at least one of the times.
Okay.
Probably the
I don't know.
last
I
time.
really like all the times he sees his dad because they get sadder each time. Because
his father's life is just getting worse and worse.
his
Yeah.
father's life is getting worse and worse. Frank is having to reconcile more and more with the idea that the family he desperately wants to repair is dead and gone. And I love that then I can't remember if it's the last time or the second to last time when he's like begging his dad, just tell me to stop. Just give me permission to stop running. And he's like, you can't stop. That scene that's brutal. It's a brutal scene.
He doesn't want to live this life.
Mm-hmm.
And his father's telling him you can't stop because he knows. He's like, once you're caught forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and he calls I was about to say Carl. My brain said he calls Tom Hanks. I was like, no, it's Carl in this movie. But he calls Carl like minutes later, and I love the touch that he's drawing a pair of handcuffs with like the watermarks on the counter. I've always thought that's neat.
I don't think I remembered that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's two like rings of water from like condensation on a glass, and he's like drawing a line between the two rings with the straw. And I'm like, that's a nice bit of visual storytelling right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, another really sad moment of this movie is obviously Leonardo DiCaprio is calling him on every Christmas Eve or Christmas and sort of like playing this cat and mouse game with him. And there's one moment where Carl says, he's like, oh my God, you don't have anybody else to call, do you? And he just starts actively laughing at him, and you're like, damn,
it's brutal.
Carl.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah. A hot take I have.
Okay.
And I sort of agree with Dylan on that it could be 20 minutes shorter. The scene that I would eliminate, and I'm sure that there is some semblance of this in reality that, is the reason that it is in the movie. But the scene I would get rid of is where he's working with Carl in the FBI. And then he like goes for like one last hurrah and dresses up as a pilot. And then they're like waiting for him to come back and they don't know if he's going to. And he does come back and blah, blah, blah. I just kind of feel like we don't need that. He could just work for the FBI.
Yeah.
Kind of agree.
I guess that makes sense.
I think like you have that moment of him being told nobody's chasing you anymore type thing.
Yeah, but I just feel like it could have been, they could have done that in a smaller, faster way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, by the end in the FBI, why is his haircut so bad? Why can he not get a haircut anymore?
Yeah. Also, he's so attractive. And I understand that like Leonardo DiCaprio is Leonardo DiCaprio, but there's like it's a little like hard for me to believe two things. Number one, that his father is Christopher Walken. But number two, that he is so hard to catch when he's like strikingly attractive. Like, I understand that he gets all these like women around him and he wears the sunglasses, but it's like he doesn't look like your average Joe. You know what I mean? Like nobody that attractive is gonna.
Well, I guess the only like two scenes where he pulls that off is the one where he surrounds himself with the girls and they do the real world version of the everyone can't stop staring at the pinstripes line.
Yeah,
with
I
everyone
wonder
watching the girls instead of watching him. And when he just absolutely humiliates Carl Hanratty by claiming to be Barry Allen.
Secret Service
Yeah.
agent. I want to refute both things
Yes.
Gab just said. One, nobody knows what he looks like except Carl. Nobody knows what Frank Abagnale looks like that he's conning. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay, that's fair.
Two,
And I
have you
guess it's
seen
before the age of security cameras everywhere and
Yeah. Have you seen young Christopher Walken?
No.
Because that is a strikingly handsome young man. He kind of looks like male Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah,
in
he
this
don't.
photo.
No, he
okay,
does.
yeah, I'd buy that. Yeah.
Yikes. That's actually really fucked up. Sorry, Scarlett Johansson. Because you're right. It's giving Elvis. It's giving Scarlett Johansson dressed as Elvis for Halloween.
But I can't wait to hear Scarlett Johansson say, "Two Avengers fell in a cup of cream."
What's a Rotary?
Oh, for like the Rotary Club?
Yeah, the Rotary Club. That's what I said. I never bothered to Google this, but I looked at Corey and said, "What's a Rotary?" And he said, like a, and he made the circle motion. And so I was like,
It's
"Oh, like a rotary
definitely
phone."
a thing from the 60s because there's the Rotary Club, the neighborhood Rotary Club is mentioned a lot in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and I also never bothered to look up what it meant there. So I don't know.
Cool.
Well, Google has given me Rotary International, the community-based organization. One of the largest service organizations in the world, the mission of Rotary, as stated on its website, is to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders.
Sure. Okay.
Good answer.
Bullshit.
Cool. So something that I really love about the just narrative flow of this movie is Frank kind of almost superheroing his way into solving each problem he runs into. And I didn't notice it the last time I watched it. I noticed it for the first time this time that the line when he fails the first time cashing a check that's no good and it bounces, he gets kicked out of like the hotel. And the guy's like, "You're a goddamn kid, go home." And that just immediately registers to him as, okay, kid was the problem. And he goes straight home and forges his birth date to be older. And and I love that that's like constantly happening where someone will call him out for something or he'll do something wrong and then he immediately goes and fixes it. And it gets more and more impressive. And I love that. And I also love his obsession with pulling labels off of things in case he needs them to forge something realistic.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
his wallet full of labels.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun.
What is the more impressive escape? Him pretending to be a Secret Service agent and convincing an FBI agent to just let him walk out,
Brilliant
Or him-
scene, one of my favorite scenes.
or crawling out of an airplane toilet.
I feel like the Secret Service thing is cooler.
I didn't ask
Because-
which is cooler. Which is
I don't
more
know. I have
impressive?
no idea. I have no idea how hard it is to fit yourself down behind the tube of an airport toilet, but I do
That's
absolutely
because you're
love...
not a piece of shit. But
Good one.
Very good. Very good. But I really love the whole dynamic of him tricking Carl Hanratty and saying that he's like, "Can I see some identification?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. Take my whole wallet. I don't care." And that casualness, like, just catches him off guard and he never thinks to look until he's left the room.
he does think to look, but it's the brilliance of being a con man, a confidence man, as he immediately, as he sees him
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
I
look, directs
forgot.
him out the
Yeah.
window, like, "Oh, look, he's taking him out right
Yeah,
now."
look, there's the perp, but we've got him right there.
Yeah.
And I also love that he then turns it back on Carl and says, "Can I see some identification?" You never
Yeah.
can be too careful these days.
I'll say this still to answer your question. I think it is significantly more impressive to con your way out of a conversation than to escape a room. Also, let us not forget, he went on for like years after he had that interaction with Hanratty, but
Mhm.
he was caught immediately after he got out of the toilet. So
Yeah,
like,
that's a good
it's
point.
impressive, but like it didn't last,
I guess just the bravery to be willing to go through an airplane toilet and to somehow
That's
maneuver your
bold.
way in an airplane bathroom. You got to
It's
give him credit
bold.
for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm giving him credit. I'm just saying it was unsuccessful. Now, question for both of you. I'm going to put Dylan on the spot first, but Jordan, you're next.
All right.
What is the biggest thing you've ever conned your way into or out of? And don't say your marriage, but
What the fuck? I wasn't gonna say that at all, you bastard.
No, sorry. Well,
Ooh, I don't know. That's tough. I wish I would have thought longer. I will say there has definitely been 1,000 times where I have used, God rest him, my dog as an excuse when
Sure,
my
that's
dog
funny.
totally did not need us back, and it was like, that's a classic couple con though. Like, you have a dog at home, you have a kid at home. It's like, oh no, we can't do it. We gotta be
Yeah,
home.
sorry, we can't. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one.
I did. It's an accidental con, but I used to have a key knife, and it's a knife that it folds into what looks like a fake key. And just by being confidently going through, TSA totally let me through with it onto a plane because I didn't even remember it was on my key ring and didn't take it off. And it was just like, I have a knife on this plane. That shouldn't be okay. You guys
Yeah,
are
yeah.
terrible at your job.
They are.
So yeah, what I was gonna say is you just mentioned casually and confidently walking past an authority figure, and I was gonna say that I've done that so many countless times because in college I had a habit and hobby of just randomly exploring campus buildings to see how much of them I could explore, even if they were supposed to be locked, and or have security desks. And it's like, if you just walk confidently enough and be like, yeah, I've got to go get something that was left here, or yeah, I've got an appointment with with such and such department, then it's like you can just walk into anywhere for the most part.
Yeah.
Jordan has
And
made
so,
me
yeah,
realize. Oh, go ahead.
I've done that a lot. No, go ahead.
You've made me realize I have a much better answer to this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was purposely I remember saying to Giselle, I went, just act like you're supposed to be here and it will be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had Giselle and my 100-pound dog living with me in my college dorm for a full semester. And I just kept saying, I was like, the security's not going to stop you if you're just walking right past them and act like you're supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did that. I took the dog out to go to the bathroom, and they would drive right past. Didn't matter.
Wait, you surely you were not allowed to have a dog.
I wasn't allowed to have a wife either at the college with me. Yes.
Is this undergrad?
Yeah. And I will say,
You weren't married.
no, we were engaged. There are two great moments during this time. First is my roommates loved that we had the dog.
Mhm.
And so my roommate, Mike, took the dog out into the hallway. He was like, can I play with Jack? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And he brings Jack outside. He's throwing a ball back and forth. And then I go outside and me and him are throwing the ball back and forth. Jack's running to get it. And Jack all of a sudden stops and right in the middle of the dorm hallway takes a huge shit. And I will say, Mike is dying of laughter. And I'm like, I gotta do something. I run into the dorm room.
That's
I get a
great.
plastic bag. I pick up the shit, which luckily for people who have had a dog, this was a perfect shit because I was able to just lift it up. No clean necessary.
Yep. Bless.
And where am I going to get rid of it? I'm not going to put it in
Mhm.
our dorm room. I went down the hall to the quiet room and I stuck it in the garbage can in there. And I imagine somebody went to study hours later and opened the door to a powerful smell punch in the face.
Oh, God.
At some point, me and my roommate would often go do these explorations with me. And there was, at some point, we went somewhere where they needed names for a visitor log or something. And we were like, just in case, we probably shouldn't use our real names. And so we introduced ourselves as Sam and Dean, which anyone who's watched Supernatural knows that's the two main characters. And the guy taking down our names was like, oh, you like that show, Supernatural? And we were like, yeah, we get that a lot. We get that a lot. And we were like, our parents, which were not related at all, but I was like, well, our parents were fans.
Oh my God.
The show is younger
Say,
than
the
us.
show can't be that old. Yeah.
That's
And the
crazy.
dude just didn't think of it because we said it fluidly enough and kept walking. And
Oh my God.
I just thought that was funny.
That is so funny.
What do you got, Gab? What's
Yeah.
your con?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I I have two that I'm willing to to publicly own up to. The first is in high school. My friend Nikki and I would so we had this thing where if you were in honor society, you had kind of like a permanent hall pass. And so
Cool.
basically, if you wanted to get up and walk around and somebody asked you for a hall pass, you could flash it and it was like a no questions asked.
And you
So-
made a fake hall pass because you couldn't get into the honor society?
Absolutely, 100%. But then we realized that it was becoming like kind of obvious because some of the teachers that we had would be in the hall and they'd be like, you're not. So it became an imperfect scheme. So eventually, instead of getting caught and being blacklisted, we created another scheme where in my high school, I graduated with like 2,000 kids. So it was a very, very big school. In my school, there were different offices. So you had the office of, student affairs. There was like the main office, guidance, blah, blah, blah. And you could essentially do like a work study where you would work one period instead of taking a class in the office. And sometimes you would have to go and get kids out of classrooms. So they'd be like, someone knock on the door and be like, hey, I need Dylan Pollock to guidance. And Dylan would have to go to guidance. So we started to pretend that we were working in these classes to take each other out. So I would go to Nikki's room and say, hey, I need Nicole to guidance. And she'd get up and be like, oh,
That's a
man,
good one.
And then she would come to my classroom and do the same to me. So then I would give her the paper. I pretended I was in the bathroom. So I'd go back. We'd count to like 3 minutes. And then she'd come in and say, hey, I need Gab to, wherever. And then we would just roam the halls.
That's
No
good.
teacher
That's a
was
good
ever
one.
like, it's very much coincidental that every time you go to the bathroom, you also need to go to guidance.
No, because we would change up the periods that we did it. So it was like you were only
That's
doing
fun.
it, you know what I mean? Like you'd be like first period today. Okay, second period tomorrow. It was great. Second thing is when I was in college, I had a fake ID. And the ID was to a girl named Kayla Dawn Halsey from Morgantown, West Virginia. And she looked nothing like me. She had like red hair and green eyes.
Was this a
She
fake
was a
ID or
different
someone
height.
else's expired ID or something?
It was somebody else's expired ID. So in high school, I worked at the Cheesecake Factory, and one of the bartenders, when I left for college, gave it to me. It was an ID he had confiscated from somebody else. And one day, and it was great. Like nobody ever asked me any questions. You hand it to them, they look it over, they give it back. Nobody's really like checking, especially in New York City. But one day, I gave it to a waiter. My friend and I ordered a bottle of wine, and I gave it to the waiter, and the waiter looks at the ID and looks back at me and goes, "No way." And I'm like, don't freak out, because the worst thing, the least of my problems is getting the alcohol. The worst thing is that he takes the ID away from me. So I need to get it back. So he looks at it and he goes, "No way." And my heart sinks and I'm like, stay calm. He goes, "I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia." And I'm like, "Oh my God, no way." And he's like, "Yeah. Oh, I can't believe it. Well, that's so crazy. Where'd you go to high school?" And I'm like, "Oh, actually, like I never went to school there. I'm from here, but I my parents moved there, so I only lived there for like a year." And he was like, "Oh my God, that's so crazy." And gave it back to me and then proceeded to give me the alcohol. But I had to Frank Abagnale my way out of that situation.
I'm just so disappointed that nobody was like, this isn't you. Like I at one point I never used it because I'm so dorky in high school that the only thing I would have used a fake ID for was to vote, like the kid from the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
My brother at one point was like, "Here, you can have my old ID," and me and Zach look enough alike that I could have used that.
Yeah.
You're saying this was some random person that did not look
Oh,
like
yeah.
you?
Didn't look like me at all. And there were times that I got turned away, but they did give it back to me.
That's
Okay.
probably just because they didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care. They're just like, get the fuck out. Like they care about their shift. They don't care about what you do. But yeah. But I was very proud of that moment.
You know
Cool.
who also has it very rough in this movie, besides Brenda and Frank?
Mhm.
The guy sitting in front of Frank on the airplane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Frank at the end when he's been arrested, he's going through it, and I did find myself thinking, not a good time to be in front of that guy.
No.
Yeah. So we do find out at the end of the movie that he did just study for the bar exam and just passed it.
That's insane. Like I love that reveal.
And allegedly
Yeah.
that is true. The real Frank says it was 2 months he studied, not 2 weeks, but
Wow.
That's a really
That
cool
is
reveal.
crazy.
I love that.
speaking of things that Frank Abagnale is alleging, unless Jordan, you've got another opinion right there. I see it
No, I
Tell me
was
what's
going to
going
go into a
next.
whole music thing, so you can do.
Oh wait, no, because that is you're the person to talk to about this. Jordan knows his
Jordan
shit about
Blumen's
music.
musical minute.
Jordan, tell me about why the music is great.
Okay,
If you can.
the music. Holy shit. John Williams at his best. I view this to be John Williams' most underrated score because everyone loves Star Wars, everyone loves Indiana Jones, everyone loves Superman. No one talks about this.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. It's era appropriate because you've got that sort of 60s jazzy vibe to a lot of it. But what's more interesting is I was paying more attention to the music this time because it's been a while since I've rewatched the movie, and there's three main themes that pop up a whole lot, other than like Brenda has a little leitmotif. This just every time Brenda's around, the leitmotif happens. But there's like three main musical themes, and I started calling them the flight theme, the lonely theme, and the cat and mouse theme. And
Ooh.
the cat and mouse theme is that kind of low vibraphone bum da dum da 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 dum that's like gets kind of menacing a little bit, but it's very much the cat and mouse theme because it's happening every single time that Carl is getting closer. It will start up. Anytime that they're in the same area and he's like advancing toward him, it'll start up again, and different parts of the theme will play at different parts. Then there's the flight theme, which is the more upbeat dum bum bum ba da 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 dum bum bum, which is I think it's just a really pretty theme. I've got that on my phone. It's in all of my playlists because I think it's very cool.
The lonely theme.
The lonely theme. So I originally thought it was the leitmotif of the father, that it was like his theme song. And I realized that it also plays in other scenes where there'll be something just really sad or Frank just feels very alone. And when I realized that it's not the dad's theme, but the loneliness theme, it hit me really hard that it also plays several of the times he's talking to his dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so if you're playing, it's like John Williams is really good at telling us a whole story with the music, that he triggers the isolation loneliness theme several of the times that he's talking to his dad, someone you should feel connected to. and it's like he's trying to, and he's always feeling lonely when he's talking to his dad. And I that was like my favorite thing about the music that I realized this time I didn't realize in previous watch throughs.
That is brilliant.
But yeah.
Jordan, you have a background in music. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was on drumline throughout high school, and that was always a lot of fun. Drumline in the fall, and then indoor, more orchestral, like the concert music in the spring.
Any
although
like
we eventually,
musical theory or composition or anything like that?
as part of that, we got a fair amount of musical theory stuff, and were encouraged to try to compose stuff. I don't think I ever composed anything very interesting.
Interesting. Still, this whole
we
time,
did get
I
to do
keep thinking
some of it.
about how much he reminds me of Scott.
Why? Just because they both know music well?
No, just because, I don't know, he just does.
Okay.
It just
My
does.
friend Scott
It's just
is
a
a
spirit
composer,
thing.
and
That's fun.
he wrote the music for this podcast, which is we thank him for. and love him.
Cool.
And yeah, you remind me of him, and he'll listen to this, I'm sure, and tell me that I'm crazy or something. But that's
Don't take
my
it
hot take.
personally, though. We all tell Gab she's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
good.
yeah, for sure. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything pressing, I motion for us to go to facts. All in favor, say aye.
Jordan, do you concur?
I concur.
I want the truth! Face the facts, dokes.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
I should have concurred.
That is such an underrated moment.
Such a good moment.
That's
He,
like my favorite quote of
ruins
that movie.
He ruins that man's self-esteem. Just obliterates it.
That and Carl's
Such
knock
an
knock
idiot.
joke are the two best quotes of the movie. to me.
Carl's knock knock joke. I
The
forgot to
knock-knock
bring it
joke.
up. I love it.
IMDb gives Catch Me If You Can an 8.1 out of 10. On the
Okay,
tomato meter,
fair
it
enough.
has a 96%, and
Very
average
good.
rating of 7.9 out of 10, with 194 fresh reviews and 9 rotten. The audience score is 89% with an average score of 4.1 out of 5.
Okay.
The critics' consensus, with help from a strong performance by Leonardo DiCaprio as real-life wonderkind con artist Frank Abagnale, Steven Spielberg crafts a film that's stylish, breezily entertaining, and surprisingly sweet. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. He said, "The story is a good story, directly told, and such meaning as it has comes from the irony that the only person who completely appreciates Abagnale's accomplishments is the man trying to arrest him." Namrata Joshi from Outlook, a hugely watchable film that disappoints nonetheless. Which probably should have read more of that review, but I was like, damn.
Wow.
Paul Burns from the Sydney Morning Herald. Hanratty isn't a strictly factual character. He's called O'Reilly in the book, not his real name either, but the performance Hanks gives makes you wish he were. Abagnale isn't strictly factual either, but DiCaprio makes him an attractive counterfeit.
That's a great line.
And lastly, Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. What begins brightly gets bogged down over 140 minutes.
So they have a length complaint there.
Which I will say, I probably gave 2 negative reviews there. I had to scroll through a lot more positive reviews to get to those 2 negatives.
Yeah.
The movie cost $52 million to make and grossed $352 million.
Not bad.
It was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. What do you guys think was nominated in this movie?
Director.
I
Nope.
praise score.
Score.
Best original score for John Williams.
Fuck
which
yeah.
He lost to Elliot Goldenthal for the score to Frida.
Okay. Yeah. Johnny gets too many of them, and so they he gets snubbed some years.
You can't give him everyone, yeah.
Because he can't win every year.
What about either like something like scenic or costumey?
What is the Scenic Academy Award?
I don't know, but you know what I mean.
What the
Like,
fuck are you talking about?
set design? I don't know. What is it
a
called?
wardrobe thing would not surprise me.
Nope. Which the wardrobe is very impressive in this movie because there's so
It's
many
very
different
good.
costumes.
Screenplay?
It's very good.
Nope.
Well, why don't you just fucking tell us then?
I will. Best supporting actor for Christopher Walken.
Okay, sure.
Which I think is well deserved for the time that he's there. He deserves the nomination.
Yeah, he did very well.
He also lost to Chris Cooper for adaptation.
All right.
The movie's directed by Steven Spielberg, who also directed, do I really
My
need to
favorite.
say, Indiana Jones, Schindler's List,
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan, Jaws, E.T.
I'm a Spielberg guy.
Too. Schindler.
I'm definitely a Spielberg. Oh my god, I'm definitely a Spielberg guy.
Schindler's
as far
List
as
2, Schindler's novel.
Oh my god.
Sorry, what were you saying about Spielberg as we were being stupid?
I was gonna try to generate another Schindler's List 2 joke, but I'm like, it feels like you probably shouldn't make too many Schindler's List jokes in a row, so I guess I won't.
Three's a crowd of Schindler's List jokes.
Yes. But I was just gonna say that it's like, people are always I
Schindler
hear a
3,
lot of
but the E is a 3.
very good. I was just saying that Spielberg's my personal favorite director of the list of directors to like. I'm a Spielberg dude.
Certainly not a bad choice. The guy knows how to make an audience-pleasing movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The screenplay was by Jeff Nathanson, who also wrote Rush Hour 2 and 3,
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and the
Cool.
live-action Lion King.
All right.
And it's based on the book of the same name by Stan Redding and Frank Abagnale Jr.
Hmm.
The movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Frank Abagnale, who you know from Titanic, Shutter Island, and Critters 3. Tom Hanks as Carl Hanratty, who you may know from Splash, Bosom Buddies, and Big. Christopher Walken, who you may know from Pulp Fiction, Batman Returns, and The Deer Hunter.
Batman Returns is an interesting one to throw in for him.
He picks
I
weird
feel like
ones.
there's obvious ones.
Okay.
I go with obvious ones, and then I like to put in a little one that's not obvious. Like Critters 3 for Leo. That was one of his first roles.
Okay.
Natalie Bay, who as the mother, who you may know from Downton Abbey, The New Era, Strange Affair, and The Young Lieutenant.
Okay.
Dylan, I think you should now change these to, Leonardo DiCaprio, who you may not know was in, instead of who you may know from.
Oh, that'd be a fun gimmick.
That would be much better.
Motion
Where
to
the
change
fuck were you
the
70
segment.
episodes ago?
Listen, the creative juices are flowing tonight, all right?
Okay. Well, and also in smaller roles, Amy Adams, Martin Sheen, James Brolin, Jennifer Garner, Ellen Pompeo, Elizabeth Banks, Brian Ho, and Frank John Hughes.
I thought you said Josh Brolin, and it took my brain a moment to be like, no way. Oh, he didn't say that.
Now, do you guys want to hear the fun facts?
I do.
Yeah.
Frank Abagnale has never owned a debit card and believes a credit card is the safest form of payment.
Huh.
I think he's right, because speaking as someone who had their debit card hacked a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's fair. Well, nobody can hack you. Nobody wants to hack you if you don't have any money. So I'm
That's
safe.
true.
There you go.
That's the safest way to do it.
The FBI officer who was chasing Frank and was the main inspiration for Carl Hanratty was really an officer named Joe Shea. Frank Abagnale Jr. used the pseudonym Sean O'Reilly in the book because Joe Shea was still in the FBI at the time. Frank Abagnale said that Hanks did meet with Joe Shea and patterned his performance on him so perfectly that watching Hanks is virtually the same as watching Shea.
That's cool.
Wow. That's
Hell of a
Tom
compliment.
Hanks is fucking amazing.
Hell of
I
a
take it
compliment.
back.
We already talked about To Tell the Truth, and the opening was based on an actual episode, which,
Mhm.
again, you can see in the description below. The story of Frank Abagnale Jr.'s exploits had one of the longest and most difficult journeys from first pitch to its eventual production. In
Interesting.
1981, it was originally announced that his story would be filmed, and Frank in 1981 was going to be played by Dustin Hoffman.
Ah.
Cool. All
I
right.
could see it.
Oh yeah.
Gore Verbinski was going to direct at one point, and he had pushed production back a few months because DiCaprio had to reshoot scenes for Gangs of New York. The delay led to James Gandolfini withdrawing, who was going to play Carl Hanratty, but had to return to work on The Sopranos.
Huh. So we got good old Tom Hanks.
Mrs. Abagnale's house, after she is remarried, is the same house from the Father of the Bride movies.
Interesting.
Cool.
I don't know why I found that so cool. I think just because Giselle loves that movie and loves that house. Yeah. When Abagnale gets his suit tailored to resemble James Bond, he signs as Mr. Fleming. Ian Fleming is the author of the James Bond
Yeah.
books.
Caught that. Loved it.
And here's where things get interesting. Since the 1970s, journalists have questioned the veracity of Frank Abagnale Jr.'s claims. Not until 2021 was it proven that all of the major and minor cons portrayed in the film are either false or highly embellished. The truth was revealed over the last several decades by multiple unaffiliated journalists, documentary filmmakers, FBI officials, state officials, including state governors, medical institutions, individual victims of the crimes, and more. When confronted with some of the facts, Frank has admitted to lying or embellishing the truth, though in general, he avoids answering these requests for explanation.
I mean, are we surprised?
Wow.
It is
so
likely-
Hold on.
This dude was like the original George Santos, it feels like now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, are we surprised that they weren't true?
Yes, it's been
Given
said that
the
maybe,
premise?
maybe his best con is getting us all to believe he was a great con man.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow.
It's likely it was
Oh, I
much
don't
easier
like
to
that.
get away with his lies at the time when there was a little opportunity to fact check. The internet and digitization of records has changed all of that. In spite of this, Frank stands by most of his fabrications and has often made up contradictory lies as explanations. It's even been shown before that there are jail records saying he was in jail most of the age that this movie takes place in, from like the age of like 16
Interesting.
to 21.
Oh. I'm so sad.
Yeah, but being the righteous man he is, Frank Abagnale has turned down, according to him, because now I feel like I have to take all of that with a grain of salt,
Yes.
turned down 3 pardons from 3 different presidents because he refused them all, believing a piece of paper should not excuse what he did.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, if what you did wasn't really that bad, it probably makes you sound even more hard to be like, no, what I did is unforgivable. It's like, no, what you did probably wasn't even really that bad.
And you may not have caught it in the movie, but Frank Abagnale does appear in the movie. He's the French officer that arrests Frank and puts him in the back of the car.
Did not know that. That's very cool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's all the facts that I have.
Wow. Very cool. Well,
Is that good enough for
I'm
you?
ready. Yeah, I'm satisfied.
Alrighty. Well, should we get to some mail?
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
All right, we're going to start with an email we have from our, once again, correspondent, Trevor.
Oh, hi, Trevor.
Trevor says, hello again. Hello, Dylan and Gab. It's been far too long. Happy New Year to you both. Happy New Year, but also mid-January, it's too late. We're done with New Year.
Yeah. Happy MLK Day.
Yeah, I guess.
Also passed, but you know.
We're too late on that too. MLK Day
Almost
has got, like,
Valentine's Day.
Oh my God, no. Happy Friday to you, Trevor. Yeah, how about that?
Well, it's not Friday.
It is when he hears this. Gab.
Okay, well then it's almost Valentine's Day, Dylan.
No, because it's only gonna be Friday, like the fucking 19th. Gab.
That's not true. This is this is coming out in a couple days, isn't it?
See? You thought you knew, didn't you?
Oh, I did. Oh, well, what are you gonna do? Anyway,
Trevor,
what are you gonna
continue.
get Giselle for Valentine's Day? Do you guys do Valentine's Day?
I don't think that she makes a big deal out of it, but I always put pressure on myself and will make myself feel bad about it if I don't feel like I did anything nice. So she already knows what I got her, but we are going to see a penguin. We're gonna have a penguin encounter
I'm sorry. What?
this Saturday after Valentine's Day, because I'm gonna be working Valentine's Day. We're gonna meet a penguin at the aquarium.
Wait, so singular one penguin?
Well, we get to spend time with the penguin and have pictures with the penguin. Like we get to be up close with the penguin.
Do you get to pet it?
I think so, yeah.
Is it gonna snuggle you?
I don't know.
Are you gonna
we'll
snuggle
see.
it?
We'll see. I have no idea. I'm excited for this.
I didn't know that this was a possibility that you could have a penguin encounter.
I'm thinking about buying a tuxedo t-shirt just for this because I don't want to look underdressed next to him.
You should.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Penguin and the Pebble?
That's a book, right?
No, it was a movie. Or Pebble and the Penguin, maybe it was called Penguin and the
No,
Pebble.
I'm thinking of Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. That's the book.
Yeah, but this was about penguins. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid. He had a little green pebble and it glowed because I think they give their mates pebbles as like engagement rings or something.
Engagement rocks, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I love Valentine's Day. However, I have this weird thing about I feel really uncomfortable when people make me feel like they had to do something. So like for example, I don't really like I love Valentine's Day, but I don't really love it because I feel like Corey feels like he had to do something, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that you had to do this. So I have like very mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I get that because it is a capitalist trap. But
Yeah.
yeah, we all want to do nice things for our partners, but it's tough when it's like,
Yeah.
no, this day you have to do something extra nice, bitch.
Yes. Yeah, but also like do something extra nice. Like go do it. Go ahead. Do it. Do it. I want you to. But also like, not if you don't want to. But also you should want to, right? But like it's fine if you don't. But also
You sound like some mind game bullshit.
no, it's really how I feel. Anyway, hi Trevor.
Hi, oh, yeah, happy New Year.
Right.
As soon as I saw North in the episode title, my mind immediately went to this forgotten classic. Now, I saw this movie as a kid when I borrowed it on VHS from the library, which tells you a lot about how Hollywood handled the movie. I rewatched it on YouTube in preparation for your podcast, so I have a few thoughts. Which everyone, you could just watch it on YouTube because whoever holds the rights does not care.
Yeah, apparently.
First, I think comparing Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe to Leonardo DiCaprio isn't completely fair. Yes, Leo is Hollywood's leading man, and as Dylan mentioned, both Wood and Radcliffe probably could have chosen to be the face of Hollywood. Regardless, it's important to note that they made it big at such a young age, whereas Leo, although had a career as a child actor, didn't make it big until he was starting to play adult characters. Yeah, that's true. I feel like Elijah Wood was doing stuff like single digits. Same thing.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe starts as like a 10-year-old, and meanwhile Leonardo DiCaprio started, but he blows up from like Titanic, and he's like a teen, a late teen. In Hollywood, he was an old.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have even dated him by the time he got famous.
Honestly, too old for himself.
What was Trevor saying? That said, it's always crazy to see Elijah Wood before Lord of the Rings in movies like North, and the one that I know him more from, The Good Son. Do you know the movie The Good Son?
Nope.
I don't either. Which I think you guys should definitely check out soon. Gab, add it to the list of recommendations that we have to get to someday. The Good Son from Trevor.
Okay.
I feel like she's lying to me that she's not actually going to do it. I couldn't tell.
I'm doing it as we speak. Wink, wink.
I've never felt less certain that she's going to do something, but okay. The Good Son, which I think you guys should definitely check out soon. If you've never heard of it, it's Elijah Wood versus Macaulay Culkin in a horror mystery battle of the 90s leading child actors. That actually sounds really good to me. I'm like, that sounds like a celebrity death match that I would want to watch. I don't know how good it is as an actual movie.
Did you see Kieran
Culkin?
Kieran Culkin do his Emmy speech last night?
I didn't really see the Emmy speech. I saw his Golden Globe speech.
Okay, the Emmy speech was good.
Were you a Succession fan?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh my God, it's really good.
Is it the show that's about Steve Cohen?
Steve Cohen.
Oh, that was Billions, I think.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's better than that. It's about actually the Murdoch family, like who runs Fox News and Fox. So you're in the inner circle of evil. Evil. Okay. Rob Reiner, who I remember most as the Jewish son-in-law from All in the Family, also guest starred as Jess's dad in New Girl. As far as North goes, it's a great movie that didn't get enough love at the time. I was afraid that Gab was going to destroy this film, but I'm really glad you guys liked it. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and this is right up my alley. Until next time, Trevor.
Until next time, keep it Trevor.
I want everyone to end like that now.
Yeah.
Everyone steal from Keith. Keep it Scotty, keep it Trevor. We have just a couple comments on North from the only other people who probably remember this movie ever happened.
Yep.
Lenola Cola. Here's an idea, a movie night with names containing some of the same words. North and North by Northwest, Hard Day's Night and A Good Day to Die Hard, or Point Break, Breaking Point, and Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah, you never heard of that?
No.
It's one of those famous sequel names just because of the ridiculousness of it, I feel like.
What is Boogaloo?
I don't know. I don't have the definition of Boogaloo in my mind.
Because I always think of that Office cold open with the lip dub.
Yeah.
Nobody can do the boogaloo like I do. Nobody do the boo like I do. You know what I'm saying?
You're doing a good job pretending you
They
know
say
some of the
boogaloo.
words. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
What was I gonna say about it? Zach actually does this game already with songs where he and Al,
we've talked about it.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
In the podcast?
That I don't know.
Oh, okay. But Zach does this game already with music, and he tries to perfectly time it as a DJ. Like he wants to time the first word with like the middle of a song. So I remember we were driving, he was just hovering over like Spotify or whatever, like ready to change it.
But he changes it to the name, like not to the part where the song says the word. He just changes it to the beginning of the song.
Yes, I think the point is like you want to find a song that starts with where you're ending the previous song. Like it's hard to do. I feel like Giselle really nailed this too when we were in the car because she knew like the exact point of the next song she wanted to go to. So like AC/DC Back in Black, straight into Amy Winehouse Back to Black, and you're like, what? Like,
yeah.
It's all about that transition. If you can keep it smooth, you're ready for that DJ show. If you can't, back to the fucking streets.
Yeah. Just leave me on the streets.
I'm already there. Mentally, physically, I just want to be there.
Emotionally. Did it snow by you today?
Yeah, lots. Giselle was very happy about it, and I was like, oh, snow. I don't want to do this. Yeah.
I had to break out my snow boots.
I just had to wear my work shoes, and I was like, my feet are going to be wet all day. Cool.
Yay.
That's how I'll leave forever. We have a comment from Scotty Cameron, of course. He kept it short. He said, look forward to having Jordan Blumen/Newman on the podcast. And it's about time because I've lost count of how many times Dylan was on Jordan's podcast, the Fandom Optimists. It's a lot. I've been on his podcast lots of times. And perhaps Jordan will be back again. Jordan and Kyle both talked about coming back already. And I'm like, well, we'll have to do that at some point. But sometimes me and Gab just want to talk about me and Gab movies. That's why we haven't gotten to any of your requests yet either. Because we still have too many stupid movies.
Our movies.
We still have too many movies like that one movie Gab watched one time on TBS that we're doing in a couple weeks or next week.
That one movie I saw that one time with some commercial breaks when I was 7 that I thought was my favorite movie.
Maybe we're closer to the bottom of the barrel than we think.
Yeah, it could be.
All right. So seems like it's what Scotty wants. Should we get back to you, me, and Jordan talking about Catch Me If You Can?
Let's do it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death.
Jordan, being that you suggested this movie, obviously you should give the first verdict.
Oh, I have one question before we give verdicts.
Okay.
Which performance do you think is better? And which movie do you think is better? 2 separate questions.
Okay.
Leo, Catch Me If You Can. Leo, Wolf of Wall Street. Also, which crime is more impressive to you? 3 questions. Go. Rapid
I
fire.
mean,
Let's go.
I'm
All
just
three
gonna
I give to
both.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Wolf of Wall Street is okay, to be honest. Also, the guy's just a dick and was rich. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, portraying
He's not half
portraying
the
all
con
these
man
cons.
that Frank Abagnale pretended to be.
That's hilarious. Yeah, portraying all of these cons as Leonardo DiCaprio, gifted acting job, great movie, one of my all-time favorites, and if all of it were true, these would be ludicrously impressive crimes to pull off.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we
Especially
can
at
get
the
back to
age.
Jordan's verdict about
Verdict.
whether or
All
not
right.
this is a movie to watch before you die.
All right, so yes, it is a movie to watch before you die. I cannot say enough about how good I think this movie is and how important I think it is. Partly because I so love Spielberg and I so love Williams, and I'm just like, you got to see all the ones where both of them did a thing. Basically, any Spielberg and Williams team up are all going to be movies to watch before you die, in my opinion. But this one in particular is really meaningful, and it could just be familiarity bias that I've seen it so many dozens of times throughout my life that I'm like, yeah, it's great.
Jordan, how old are you?
26.
Interesting. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what TRL is?
No.
Dylan?
Oh, Total Request
know.
Live with Carson Daly?
They don't know, Dylan. 2 of my friends are 27, and Corey was like, yeah, I went to TRL one time, and they were like, what's that?
I wasn't even like a fan of the popular music at the time, and I'm still like, you don't know TRL?
TRL is a cultural cornerstone, and anybody younger than us doesn't know what it is.
Interesting.
It's like crazy. It's literally like if you said to somebody, well, like I saw it on TikTok, and they'd be like, what's TikTok? And it's like, I'm not even on TikTok, but obviously I know what TikTok is. Like, what do you mean? Anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's also like, I feel like I'm finding out now that I have coworkers that are like the same age as, this feels like a terrible comp, but I'm like 9/11. I'm like, you don't even remember? Like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. These kids
crazy.
today.
I know. 2 of my very best friends. I was like, I'm too old to be your friend. Anyway.
Even I've got coworkers who are like 3-4 years younger than me, who were like young enough where I'm like, I don't get you.
Yeah.
Even
only
just
gets
that
worse.
small gap. Oh no.
Yeah. Then you start feeling older too.
Yeah, your body hurts, and they don't know what you're talking
about. I noticed today that my knees aren't doing too well with stairs. So
my back hurt.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Meanwhile, Gab's over here in peak physical shape. She's like, yeah, that must suck.
Like, yeah, that sucks. I don't know what to tell you. All right, I will give my verdict on this movie. I want to start by saying that, or should Dylan go first? Am I like the wild card here?
I don't know, but I want to let everybody know Gab's weak point is her knees. Her knees are weak. You can attack her there.
No,
Okay.
they're not. I have great knees.
That's
I thought you had a weak knee. No.
No, my knees are great.
Disregard what I said. Don't attack. Hold on.
That's exactly what someone would say if they had weak knees and didn't want to be attacked.
That's what Frank Abagnale would say. Yeah.
Jordan's right. The attack is back on. Attack the knees.
No, I have great knees. Thank God. Knock on wood. Am I the wild card?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just gonna go. Typically I have an issue with movies that are like longer than, an hour 45. For a multitude of reasons, scheduling purposes, boredom purposes. I just think it's like really gratuitous to have a movie like all those Marvel movies that you're like, wow, that movie was great, and then it like keeps going, and you're like, oh my God, no, please stop. I was happy with that. This movie feels like it's over in a flash. It goes so quick. There is not even the moments that I know we could cut. I feel like don't weigh it down enough that it feels like a long movie.
It's paced really well.
It's paced so well. And I watched it with my boyfriend who had actually never seen it before, which was shocking to me. He loved it. He is a like classic faller a sleeper. He cannot stay awake during a movie. We watched it
Mhm.
like relatively close to evening time too, and he stayed awake the whole time. He loved it. He was in it. I just think it is a wonderful movie. It is paced so well. It is funny. It is heartbreaking. It is keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen. Great performances, great score. I love this movie. I love this movie for many years. Interesting, we didn't touch on the Broadway musical, which there was one. It didn't do so well from what I understand. But that's neither here nor there. But I love this movie. I think it's wonderful, and it is 100% a movie to watch before you die.
I didn't even know there
Awesome.
was a musical version of this until I was doing research, and they were talking about the Broadway play, and I'm like, really?
Interesting.
Yeah. Musical, Dylan, not a play. Musical.
Musicals are plays, Gab.
No, they're not. A play implies that there is no music.
Okay. No, that can't be true.
Dylan, I have a fucking $75,000 degree in whether or not something is a play or a musical. Okay.
Really?
If
Somebody
you tell
fact check
me
that.
we're going to see a play and you take me to Cats, I'm pissed.
Wow. Google says you're right. So congratulations
shit,
on
I'm
your
right.
degree.
Thanks.
Real. Wow. So musicals and plays are both what then? Shows?
Shows.
Theater?
Correct.
The theater?
Yeah, theater, shows. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm just filibustering before I say that, like, obviously this is a movie to watch before you die. You know what I mean? Like,
yay.
I think, Jordan, if you hadn't brought this on and Gab suggested, I'd be like, too obvious. We can't do that. We can't do a Spielberg, John Williams movie. No.
That's
can't
fine.
do that. The only complaint that I really could give about this movie was that it's a little long. And honestly, you both said it. It really doesn't feel like it's long.
Yeah.
Because you're enjoying every second you're watching this movie. And like, even if I tried to say like, yeah, maybe get rid of one of the scenes with Frank and his father, I fucking love every scene of Frank with his father. Especially, God, Christopher Walken, when they're in that fancy restaurant.
Oh.
And he's like starting to tear up. I was like, he should have got the Oscar. I was like, God damn.
It was damn good.
Yeah, this is a great movie. This is an underrated gem, quite frankly.
Had you seen it before, Dill?
Oh, yeah. I think I saw this movie when it came out when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, fabulous movie.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, super easy. Amazing.
Yay, I picked a good one. I'll have to make sure to pick a much more controversial one next time I'm on.
Yeah.
Yeah, try picking something you enjoy from your childhood that you think is great and watch Gab tear it apart. That'll make you feel good.
Yeah,
that'll be great.
Yeah, or choose a classic comedy that Dylan can destroy.
Power Rangers Turbo the movie.
Yeah, please, let's do that.
I think I loved that movie as a child.
Oh, God. Dylan, I did get a text message from Scott saying that you were crazy for your thoughts on Christmas Vacation. So just want to throw that out there.
Maybe we'll be talking about that in a mail segment that we'll be recording today. Gab, okay?
Oh, great. Okay, good. Fabulous. Dylan, what do we say?
Well, Jordan, I feel like, should I let you say something about the Hall of Pods podcasting network?
Oh yeah, Jordan, plug
away.
I'll
just say what I always say, which is that which is just as true on this podcast now. This podcast is a member of the Hall of Pods podcast network. You can find, I assume, a link tree in the description of this episode that could take you to any of our amazing podcasting friends. My podcast, the Fandom Optimists, is one of them. And that's my little blurb. You can find Fandom Optimists at Fandom Optimists on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to remember what the thing is you saying. Never.
Oh yes, I always
stop
say
loving
never
your optimism. That can't be right. Never apologize for your optimism. That's what it is.
Never apologize for loving your fandom and try to stay optimistic.
Fuck. We're lucky I can remember my own name by this point. Kev's gonna have to put me down.
You're out of here.
And if you want to contact this podcast, you can reach out to us at movies2watchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com. You can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/movies2watch. And we already talked about the link tree below, but you can find all sorts of great links in the description there. Gab, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And Jordan, thank you for being here, because we didn't even say that, because we're terrible
Jordan,
people.
thank you so much.
Thanks. You said it at the beginning. It's okay.
Okay, so now bye-bye. Now that we have Jordan's permission, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, would you like to hear me tell a joke? Yeah, we'd love to hear a joke from you. Knock, knock. Who's there? Go fuck yourselves.